Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to our final session for today. We are so excited and so happy that you hung out with us through the entire day of an amazing set of presentations. So now our final session is the good and evil of artificial intelligence in higher education. Don't fight it, integrate it with Wendy Fritz, Executive Director, Teaching and Learning at the University of Wisconsin-Madison with the Wisconsin School of Business. And so I will hand it over to Wendy.
Thank you, Shannon. So before we get started, if anyone would like immediate access to today's slides, I know everybody always asks for those, please feel free to scan the QR code on your screen with your phone and follow along or save for later. So I'm also very excited to be here with you today to talk about using AI in higher education. I'd like to make a case today for safely and ethically embracing AI with our students to help better prepare them for the world they're entering when they leave our institutions. Hopefully, with the short time that we have together today, you'll gain a better understanding of how we can use AI as educators and walk away with some strategies, tools, and techniques you can use right away. Right. So I'd like to make this session as engaging as possible. I encourage you, if you would like to open up ChatGPT or Bing Chat and play while we talk. You can use the QR codes on the screen with your phone camera, or just do a good old-fashioned Google search if you would like. So this technology is here, and there's no recorking the genie with AI tech. It's not going away. Does it have some scary potential? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yes, it does. But on the flip side, it also gives us the opportunity as educators to push our students further. We can ask them to do more now that they have these tools, and we can accelerate learning by asking, if not insisting, that students use this technology and use it a lot while we teach them to critically evaluate the output. We will, as we have before, teach them how to ethically leverage this new technology as it very quickly becomes the norm. Just like the calculator back in the 70s, if you're like me and old enough to remember that, the human race proved resilient to the evils of the calculator technology, and we survived and adapted and turned out to be decent humans despite the fears of our educators back then. The AI tools level the playing field for students with disabilities and for those who struggle with navigating multiple languages. It can help knock down barriers to understanding that are super difficult to overcome in the classroom, like knowledge transfer, explanatory depth, and critical evaluation. It's also a game changer for research by speeding up lit review, as well as creating summaries and abstracts really quickly. I've personally used it to overcome writer's block on numerous occasions, including this presentation. Just as one example, back in March, I was facilitating a class, The Fundamentals of Online Teaching, and one of the faculty said, I just don't know how to generate discussion questions. It's such a struggle for me. And I said, oh, well, let's pop onto ChatGPT. And I asked her to share a learning outcome that she hoped the discussion would support. We typed in a quick prompt asking ChatGPT for asynchronous discussion questions that would achieve her outcome. And within seconds, she had a list of 8 discussion questions that she said just needed a tiny bit of tweaking, but otherwise were perfect. And she was gobsmacked at the speed and accuracy that her inspiration problem was solved. All right. So AI can improve the pedagogy we use. It can speed up our prep and achieve deeper learning for our students. The image that you see on the screen of a genie considering whether or not to re-enter his lamp was generated by DALL-E 2, one of my favorite AI tools. It's an art generator that works from a text description. So it just took a few seconds to sign into DALL-E, enter a text prompt, and create an original image that was perfectly suited for this presentation. So versions of these tools are largely available for free, delivering somewhat equitable access. There's an argument to be made there. But many of us have been laser focused on students using large language models like ChatGPT to cheat. Sadly, they will. They already are. It took about a week before, from the time that ChatGPT was released, before my teaching and learning team was receiving complaints of student writing that just didn't match up to the student's previous work, was unusually well written for a student, or just didn't align with the question that was being asked or the learning that they were asking for. So cheating has been around since about a week after the first university opened in 859 AD in Morocco. I looked it up. But what cheating and AI have in common is that we can effectively manage them both. We could spend a heck of a lot of time, practically endless amounts of time, diving into the implications of AI. But with the limited time we have together today, I'd like to dip a toe into just two areas with you: guiding our students to use AI ethically and using AI to our advantage as instructors. Lastly, I'll share a handout with AI strategies, tools, and techniques that you can start using right away. And this is the same handout my team uses for our own faculty, and we refine it as we learn and discover more and as this technology evolves. So do check back and feel free to share it with anyone you'd like. So let's dip our toes in the water with our first topic. Remember, with any of these suggestions, it is absolutely critical to explain the limitations of AI tools to students and emphasize what it's not good at. It has bias, implicit bias. It hallucinates, or it provides inaccurate information, or it actually sometimes makes up information. So you really do have to check. It's terrible at citations, and it's not great at math yet. I'm sure all of these things will get better as the technology evolves, but for right now, those are kind of the advisories. Other things to think about: be sure to consult your institution's data and privacy policies before asking students to use AI tools, and always provide a second option for those who do not want to share their personal data with a third-party tool by creating an account. It's a best practice anyway to offer multiple options, and all of these tools just about require you to create an account to use them. One last thing that it's important to understand when selecting the right tool for the job with AI is there's a key difference between two of the more popular tools, ChatGPT and Bing Chat. Bing's tool is connected to the internet and has access to the full array of what's on the internet, and ChatGPT is not. So Bing can offer a wider range of more current information, while at this moment, ChatGPT currently only references a closed data set prior to 2021. So if we're going to do anything where we need current resources, Bing Chat is probably a better option. So with all those advisories out of the way, how can we help students use these tools ethically in the classroom? We can have them use them for idea generation. ChatGPT and Bing can help students brainstorm ideas for research topics, essays, projects. They can enter a prompt related to their field of study and ask it to generate ideas or provide different perspectives. The generated responses can serve as a starting point for further exploration and development of their own ideas. They can also use it for problem solving when they're facing an assignment that they just don't know what to do with or where to start. Students can consult the tools for guidance. They can describe the problem or provide relevant information and ask the model for suggestions or strategies to tackle it. ChatGPT, Bing, and other tools can provide insights, different angles, or references to relevant sources that can help students overcome those obstacles. It can even develop code and algorithms. So another important item it can help students do to secure that learning is explore different perspectives. Chat and Bing can assist students in understanding different viewpoints on a different topic or on a given topic. By presenting the model with a question or an issue, students can ask for arguments from different perspectives, which helps broaden their understanding of various opinions and help foster those critical thinking skills. Another way they can use it is as a study aid for those tough concepts that they're having trouble understanding. They can ask for um, a, a, an explanation in a simplified manner of complex concepts or theories. And they can also get examples and illustrations from these tools. They can provide alternative explanations and approaches that may not have been covered in class. And again, allowing those students to broaden that knowledge. A little controversial, but still, I think an applicable practice is practice exams. Students can ask the tools to generate practice questions on a given topic or a resource assigned in class, and they can repeatedly regenerate the response to get different questions. And evaluating whether those questions are appropriate gives them expanded access to the knowledge to help cement their learning. The most obvious use, I think, that we all have heard about is writing assistance. ChatGPT, Bing, Grammarly, all of those tools, there are many, many more, can be a valuable tool for improving writing skills. Students can ask the model to review and provide feedback on their written essays or reports, and identify grammar, spelling errors, suggest improvements in sentence structure, offer different vocabulary choices, or just provide general writing tips. In that same vein, students can use the AI tools to critically evaluate their writing. They can analyze the style, voice, and tone by asking whether their writing is appropriate for the intended audience or purpose, as well as proofread for flow and logical progression. Super deep tools here. By describing the purpose or objective of their writing and providing relevant context, they can receive overall feedbacks and suggestions for structure, content, or just the quality of the work. Again, it's super important to apply that critical judgment and lead your students to make sure to question anything they get from the AI tools. Lastly, in the critique manner, we can ask students to do comparative analysis, have them complete their assignments to the best of their ability, and then ask AI to complete the same assignment and compare it, checking for omissions, alternate perspectives, or potential errors if they're not quite understanding the learning. Again, I can't emphasize enough, this is a great opportunity to have them analyze the output and compare it to their own work as well as the curriculum to make sure that there's not inaccuracies, but also deepen their own understanding by spending that time. They can also use the tools for summarizing sources. Provide the AI with an article, research paper, a book, and ask it to generate a summary. They can specify the audience, the length, the level of detail they would like the summary to end up being, or any other number of variables, any text input the tool will take. Bing Chat can read and analyze the source particularly well since it's connected to the internet to provide a concise summary, highlight key points, main arguments, and supporting evidence. Students can also provide data sets to ChatGPT or even ask ChatGPT or Bing to generate data sets and then ask it to assist in analyzing the data. They can describe the variables, a research question, or specific analysis they want to perform. One of my favorite uses, as I mentioned earlier, is visualizing concept. AI can help students visualize by generating descriptions or examples that illustrate the ideas they're studying. Students can provide a concept or ask for explanations of complex topics, and ChatGPT or Bing can describe visual representations, diagrams, or provide metaphors to aid in understanding, especially with abstract concepts. Okay, here's the big topic. The one everybody wants to talk about is cheating. What about cheating? The first thing, in my humble opinion, and I'm only one person, We need to examine the circumstances we create as educators that motivate students to act unethically. I work in a very competitive business school, and you can imagine the accusations of heresy that I have received with these statements. Um, but I implore you not to conflate rigor with competition. A highly competitive atmosphere where students are constantly compared, ranked, or compete for limited points fosters a culture of cheating. Our primary goal should be to prepare students in an environment that's safe for learning and to transfer that applied learning into the real world. Designing learning experiences that reward effort, honesty, collaboration, and persistence will develop students with knowledge and skills employers are begging for and will serve them well out in the world. We need to emphasize intrinsic motivation and personal growth. If we exchange those high stakes exams for multiple performance measures like projects, presentations, and scaffolded formative assessments, that's going to reduce cheating. It's going to reduce that pressure. Students may also cheat because they're bored or they don't understand the relevance of the curriculum. If we take care to start our courses with a little bit of what's in it for me or what's in it for them, WIFMs in MBA parlance, and incorporate active learning strategies with real world applications and student choice in assignments, we can keep them engaged and discouraged doing the minimum just to get to the next course. I'll even award you extra superhero credit points if you can include stealth assessments in your curriculum that leave evidence of learning that you can follow, like problem solving, game-based assessments, online discussions, role play, or simulations where students don't even know they're being assessed. Stealth assessments can provide insight into student understanding, abilities to engage in critical thinking on a topic while reducing that test anxiety. And who wants to cheat or use AI when you're happily playing and learning at the same time? If we set expectations for how students should and shouldn't be using AI in our syllabi and policies, as well as educate students how to use the technology well, we set a standard we can more easily use to redirect behaviors when needed. And I'll offer you some resources coming up here to help you do this in just a moment. So lastly, if we're unsure if a student is using AI to cheat, we can attempt to detect use. I offer this as a last resort, and I might even recommend that you not use it at all if you can help it. There are detection websites out there. There's some provided in the handout that I'm going to give you at the end here. You can use those for free, but with the proviso that none of them so far are very reliable. And these detectors certainly should not be the single data point you use to decide whether or not a student is cheating. For example, other things you can do if you suspect a student has submitted AI generated content, in addition to using the detector, you can review the content for kind of non-human flags. The biggest clues you can look for are writing that doesn't match the context of the assignment prompt, doesn't match the student's previous writing submissions. Again, more great reasons for multiple informative or scaffolded assessments. Look for things that don't demonstrate a student's own learning process. And this is another reason to encourage assignments that elicit how the student's thoughts have changed throughout the learning process. And lastly, look for specific terms that you've used in your curriculum or specific examples that you've used in the curriculum kind of being absent from the students' generation. Students generally will use those same examples and reference terms that you've used in their assignments. At the end of the day, it's really tough, and it's going to get tougher for us to detect the use of AI for cheating. So we just need to do the best we can to design our curriculum around that. Nothing we're going to do is going to prevent cheating entirely, but we can influence our students by changing the learning environment as best we can to incentivize the desired behavior. Okay, what about the instructor's use of AI technology? How can we benefit from that? Um, I was a little skeptical at first, but now, wow, has it saved me a lot of time? The possibilities are vast. I'll offer you a few here. Speed up research with AI and focus on what really matters by automating tasks. Data analysis. If you have to do any data analysis, these tools can very quickly analyze large amounts of data and identify patterns that might not be apparent to the human eye. We can save time and make more data informed decisions. Um, Lit review, AI powered lit review tools like Bing Chat can quickly search for references for you and analyze vast amounts of research papers and identify relevant information super quickly. You can also ask it to provide you with relevant resources in a much more targeted manner than you can in a Google search. One interesting way you can design experiments if you are in a classroom where you need to have experiments or scenarios or case studies, AI can help you identify the most significant variables to include and optimize the design to minimize the number of actions that you need to take or trials and identify potential pitfalls to avoid. So, other assignments we can create. It kind of depends on the course and the subject matter, obviously, but here's a few examples in addition to those on the slide. So, again, data analysis, assignments that require students to analyze using AI tools such as Python libraries or Excel add ins. Students can be given a data set, or the AI can generate data sets for you. And then we can ask them to perform regression analysis or create a predictive model using machine learning algorithms. We can use image creation, image recognition to ask AI to generate an image based upon their writing and ask them to evaluate how well the image represents their perspective in their assignment and how could they adjust the writing to get a more desirable result. Writing assistance, again, we can supply students with a rubric to evaluate AI-generated writing assignments, right? The AI can create the rubric and it also can work with the students to evaluate those assignments. We can ask the students to spot errors, those hallucinations, biases, or identify and contrast between human-generated and AI content. When it comes to assessments and any use of AI, really, we want to make sure we're considering the ethics and validity of the results if we're using it to provide feedback or help assess learning. We should be very concerned with data privacy, where and how our student data will be used, stored, and shared. And a third and equally important advisory is make sure we're not taken in by the flash and convenience of this new tech. We should select tools that support evidence-based pedagogy, best practices, equity, and access. With the advisories out of the way, we can use AI not only to design effective assessments, but help design rubrics, ensure our instructions and assessments are crystal clear, and help us calculate grading curves, which is a place I need help. As research for this presentation, I asked Bing Chat on the creative setting, it has a few different settings, to provide feedback on a few anonymized final project submissions. It was really interesting to me that it compared the submissions to what it thought was a comprehensive change management plan. The assignment was a change management assignment with statements like, your plan contains most elements of a comprehensive plan, but you could add more detail on how you'll prepare your stakeholders and the criteria you use to measure success. AI was able to determine its own rubric, compare the students' work not only to the assessment questions that I supplied it, but also what it thought should be present and what was not supplied. So, and again, that all happened in virtual seconds. With regard to documentation for syllabus and policies, I was able to generate an interesting syllabus template with just a course and institution name. I was able to fill it in more precisely, section by section, by using more specific prompts. And for fun, which says a lot about my idea of fun, I asked ChatGPT to write a university policy for responsible student and instructor use of AI. It did a pretty good job, but the response from Bing was better. And you can see the results for yourself by following the QR link on the slide. I'll leave that up there for just a second. You can capture it if you need to. There's also a link if you get the slides for yourself. You'll be able to follow the link. Okay. And now for the big handout here. This is the same handout I use for my own faculty and team. And again, we update it regularly. So please feel free to check back with it and see what's been updated and share it freely. This handout goes into a little more depth than I could with our short time in this session. And it again will give you tools, strategies, and techniques that you can explore using AI in your own classrooms. All right. Before we get to Q&A, I'll leave you with just a few musings here. We shouldn't view AI tools as a threat to the university, but as an exciting new opportunity to enhance learning. AI tools can help us personalize learning, automate tasks, provide feedback, generate content, and foster collaboration. AI tools can also help us develop essential skills for the 21st century, such as critical thinking, creativity, communication, and digital literacy. That said, AI is not a magic pill that can replace human interaction, judgment, and responsibility. We need to use AI tools ethically and responsibly with respect, transparency, and accountability. We need to be aware of the limitations, biases, and risks of AI tools and seek informed consent from those who will be affected. We need to use these AI tools as a means to an end, but not as an end in itself. I urge you not to fight the AI tools, but integrate them into your classroom practice as best you can. And my challenge to you is to explore the possibilities of AI tools to help push our students higher, further, and faster. Tech can't replace your good teaching and human interaction, at least not yet. Thanks for being here today.
Wendy, what an amazing presentation.
Oh, thank you.
No,
Yeah.
that was excellent. You know, I think all of us are talking about ChatGPT on our campuses and AI. And I think, you know, as someone said in the chat box, that was a really good summary of that you provided. So thank you for that. And thank you for the resource, the links for the handouts and the presentations. I look forward to going back and looking through those resources. But now we're going to open the floor for questions. And we do have a couple of questions in the chat box. And if your question is not in the chat box, you do have a little time to get it in. So we're going to delve right in. First question is, how do ChatGPT and Bing generate data sets? What data is being used? And how do we help students to understand how to use the data feature?
Sure. So this isn't an area I'm super versed in yet. ChatGPT is a closed data model. So at this point, it only has data from 2021 and prior. So it might not be the best tool to use with data sets. You can ask it, and it may provide you data, but it may be biased to prior to 2021. Bing, on the other hand, it is connected to the internet, so it will give you more current data. And you can ask it to analyze and provide. You can ask this of ChatGPT too. You can just put in a text prompt, like we're working with, just like Google, we're working with text prompts. It's just the ability to parse those text prompts is a little bit better. So you can go in, and it takes a little practice to design text prompts that are effective. But once you kind of learn what it needs to know, you can ask it for a data set if you don't already have one, or you can send it a link to a data set and it will take a look at it and produce charts and graphs. So it's just a matter of learning how to write those prompts correctly to get the result you want. Hopefully that was a helpful answer.
Yes, and whoever submitted that answer, if you can give us some feedback just to let us know if that was what you were looking for, and then we'll go on to the next question. I do want to say, David asked a question because this one is relevant to all participants. Will we have access to the PowerPoint presentation when completed? So she shared the QR code, and you also will all have access to the recordings for all of the sessions. So you'll just need to log in, but the presentation slides are not available for all the presentations. It just happened that Wendy shared her slides in a handout with us via Google Docs. So the question is, should the use of AI be part of an institutional policy along with plagiarism? Or does that create an unhelpful link between the two?
Yeah, I'm a fan of being explicit about it. I think there should be an inclusion in our academic integrity policies, and if your institution asks students to sign a pledge, our institution does for every student at the beginning of their. I'm pretty sure we do it at the beginning of every term, but you have to sign a statement that says that you will follow the academic integrity policy. I think it's useful to include something in there. Our institution hasn't done that yet. They're kind of taking, we have a wait and see posture at our institution. But I do think that it's important to include expectations for how students should and shouldn't use, and instructors should and shouldn't use this technology. I think it's most important to have it in the syllabus, because different classes will use these tools in different ways. An umbrella policy is only going to have so much specificity, but in the syllabus, we can get pretty specific about what we expect them to do and what we don't.
Hey, thank you. As a librarian, I find this next question really interesting. It says, I find that ChatGPT and Bing make up information. How best to write a prompt so that you get good information? And it was an intriguing question to me because we found that ChatGPT will give you a citation. It's not a good citation that you can actually go and get a real article from, and students need that awareness. So how do we best write a prompt so that you get good information?
I anticipated that question. Because it's such a complicated answer, I put that in the handout. So hopefully you caught the handout, the QR code to the handout, because there's a little more information on that in there. For my case, it just took some experimentation. Learning to be very specific in your prompts about exactly what you want. The way that I kind of learned to do this was I ask it a very simple prompt. I see what it comes back with. If it's not what I wanted, I get a little more specific based on what it returned, and just kind of doing that volley back and forth a few times helped me kind of understand, okay, and get to the result I want, because your prompts are going to be different every time. There's no magic formula. It's just a matter of figuring out how much detail it needs and how much detail you want back, and what kind of detail you want back. That's probably about as best of an explanation as I can give you. The way to think about this is the large language models are just text predictors. Basically, they survey all of the language out there in their data set, and they predict what's the next logical word that should come in front of this one based on what I've already seen, right? So that's really all, like, very, super simple. It's just predicting language. So that's why it hallucinates. That's why it has biases. It's just generating a prediction. I hope that helps.
And our final question for today is, you ended the presentation with AI not taking over our educator roles, at least not yet. Do you believe at some point this will be the case?
Wow, that's a big question. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. The possibilities with AI, and I mentioned in the beginning, decisively did not include any of the scary things about AI because there are lots of them. Um, I, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think anyone knows at this point the true impact of where we're going with AI. I think it's possible. I hope that it's not. Um, I don't think there's anything, and I might be wrong someday, but I don't think there's anything that can replace human interaction. We need it as people, as individuals. We need to interact, right? The pandemic showed us that we need to have social interaction, and it's how we learn. And I can't imagine there is anything with ones and zeros that can reproduce what we can do as humans in the same way. But I might be wrong.
Well, thank you so much for your very thoughtful answers and for an amazing presentation. And I ask that everybody in the session give Wendy a round of applause because that was a really good presentation. I also encourage you to give yourselves a round of applause for engaging and hanging out with us all day to experience such amazing presentations from our various panelists. Um, this is the end of our program, though, and so I'm going to thank you all again for attending Online Ed 2023. Just a reminder for you all that the session recordings from today's event are now accessible in the Agenda tab. Thanks to everyone again for joining us today, and thanks to our sponsors for a great event. And then please be sure to complete the brief feedback survey to let us know how you enjoyed the conference today. And the link is available in the community tab. We hope to see you at the event next year, but it's so important that you complete the feedback tab because I know that our program planners, their goal is to make this program better every year. So please complete that. I hope you all have a good rest of your day. I hope you learned a lot from this event, and I hope you'll be back next year. So y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.